do the research, whether that's books, podcasts, recommendations from people. For me, I'm an action taker. Go out there, put yourself out there. That's how we learn. It's human nature. Take the chance of falling on your face because it'll be worth it. Whether you actually fall on your face or you succeed, take that first step and just keep stepping. Just keep going.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your host, Richard Coyne, and we're so pleased today to have on our show Rich Neuharth. Rich, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Richard. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So glad you're here. So, Rich, if you would, can you talk a little bit about your background, kind of what you used to do? And again, I know you still do a few things, so kind of go into all of that. But kind of what have you traditionally done?
Yeah, so by trade, I'm an air traffic controller, and started in the military. I did 6 years, stationed a couple of different places, deployed, but it was all air traffic control. I had no idea what it was, other than everybody kept telling me it was very difficult and it was tough, and so that made me actually want to do it a lot more. And then I got out of the military and transitioned, and a couple trips around the world, and I ended up back in Texas.
Okay. So you're still doing air traffic control now, correct?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That is a tough job. Yeah. I have a ton of respect for you guys. Definitely, I know it is a tough field and so hopefully, again, I know you're kind of in the trenches, but you've obviously, had been subject to some of the discussion about the systems. Do you know, are they working on doing some of the upgrades to help you guys have a better, be able to do your job easier kind of thing?
Yeah, I like the way you asked that question. So there is a lot of background, some of the systems are older and I don't want to say outdated. They're still very safe systems.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money, and it's also a federally ran, system as well. So we take that into consideration. But as far as tools, we're not lacking in any of the tools to make our job as safe and as efficient as it possibly can be.
Good.
I mean, even if our system is old, our air traffic system is far more advanced than any other nation in the world.
That's great. I kind of expected that. And again, that is good to hear because it's a critical component of the economy and certainly people's lives are, involved in, obviously. So thank you for what you do. It's definitely a tough job, but we certainly appreciate it. So excellent. Absolutely. Good. So can you kind of talk a little bit about, you're still active in that, but what else do you do? I know you do some other things. So what else do you do?
Yeah. So I have always had a fascination with business and investing. My degrees are not related to business whatsoever. It seems the way, if you want to build something for your family or, help an economy or a city that you live in, like that's the best way to do it. Business owners give back more money to their cities than any other entity. I mean, than just your normal citizens. And so I wanted to be a part of that, but I also wanted to build something for my family and not just sit around for 30 years and wait for a retirement, hopefully. Back in 2010, we were in Las Vegas. Obviously, the economy was terrible. I mean, they were almost giving houses away if you asked for one back then. So we bought our first house in Las Vegas and got really fascinated with the whole system. How do mortgages work? How do you qualify? How do you have to have millions of dollars to buy real estate? And, a couple books in, and I figured out enough to get started, to get me to making those first few mistakes that I made back then. And we started and we never stopped. So we built up a pretty significant rental portfolio, Las Vegas, Texas, even had one in Anchorage, Alaska for a while.
Wow.
And then we had friends, we had family, we had people that wanted to invest with us, and single family didn't make a whole lot of sense to do it, at least back then. And so we transitioned into the commercial multifamily space.
Okay.
So 2018, we've been buying apartment complexes.
Excellent.
Around the U.S.
Excellent. Good. So, Rich, as you look back, again, maybe it's your ATC days, and is there something funny you can share about, maybe something happened with you, something like that you can share?
I don't know. I mean, my life's been great. We've
Okay.
had a lot of moments and stuff like that. Um, yeah, nothing in particular. Sorry, I must have missed
No,
that
no, that's
question.
fine. That's fine. Yeah, no, that's great. Again, I certainly can say that I've had a very blessed life as well myself, and so that's great to hear. Again, but very cool. So you started doing the single family acquisitions and it built up a portfolio, and you're now doing apartments. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, is there a thought? Maybe you touched on it already. Just that as you were looking to have other people come invest with you, it didn't seem like the scale was there or the opportunity was there for multiple people to invest in when you were doing single family. So is that why you kind of switched over to the apartment side?
Yeah, it's so when you're talking about single family, there are people that specialize in it, obviously funds,
Mm-hmm.
um, your your bigger guys that you would think of, Berkshire and Blackstone, and
Yeah.
those guys, they buy these huge portfolios of homes all over the US. They'll buy a development, and back then I wasn't thinking quite that big,
Mm-hmm.
but I was thinking, hey, I've got 80 rental properties spread out over the DFW Metroplex. How do I manage all those? How do I scale that? Like, that's a lot of, I was traveling a lot, driving all over the place, maintenance calls, just the property management in general. Um, and the idea of having everything together
Mm-hmm.
in what's considered truly a business,
Yeah.
and I think that was a big factor for me. Was an apartment complex, when you go to finance it, it's finance as a business. It's nothing different than going to buy your local grocery store or something like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
how they evaluate it. But when you're buying single family homes, unless you're buying these big portfolios, it's based on your credit, your cash flow, and some loans may take into consideration the rental income, but a lot of them don't. So,
Right. Right. Yeah, that definitely makes it tough to scale because it's a one-off versus a true business, as you said. So when you were you managing all those yourself, property management?
yeah, for quite a few years, my wife and I managed those all ourselves.
Wow, that's a lot of work with 80. And to the point of acquisition wise, that's 80 different contracts instead of one contract.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I like the multifamily. Certainly, it's impressive that you built up a portfolio of 80. But again, I'm sure that was a heck of a lot of work over the time to get there. Whereas now you're syndicating and bringing together multiple investors to buy a 10 or a $20 million property, and that's one contract. So very nice, good.
It
Okay,
sounds nice to say 80 properties, but it was a nightmare. I mean,
gotcha.
it was, there wasn't no finesse to it. Like, we took
Yeah.
care of our tenants. We still have a lot of tenants that reach back out to us. So we take pride in taking care of people. That's ultimately number one. But
yeah,
it wasn't. It was just a lot harder to put in systems and processes
right.
for single family versus, a multifamily project.
Yep, makes sense. Makes sense. So as you were making that shift over into the apartment side, were there initially some obstacles you had to overcome?
Yeah, I would say so. It's a different network of people. A lot of times, single family and multifamily, they're separated. Your teammates are different. Our attorneys, we're dealing with not only real estate attorneys, but SEC attorneys, people that specialize in building funds. The property managers are different. A lot of the property managers we work with, they don't actually have any single family homes.
Yeah.
They specialize in, large apartment complexes. The ability to raise money, that was a large one. That is not something, you can raise a little bit of money, I'd say, from most everybody's network. You just don't, you may not know it, but when you want to start raising, $1 million, $2 million for a project, that takes some significant forethought and planning and brand building, which is something we had no idea about. To be honest, we still struggle with it. And, we don't have a very well-known brand yet, but it is very close with the investors that we do have. And so we're working to elaborate on that, but it's just, very similar to single family. It's just different aspect, grander scale.
Okay. So your company now is well, go ahead and mention your company.
Yeah. So it's Aviana Capital Group, and it's just a boutique private equity firm that either invests in or purchases to manage ourselves apartment complexes throughout. For the past few years, we've done the Sun Belt states, which are obviously pretty hot, but we've started to make a move into the Midwest. We like some of the markets up there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, definitely. This hot states that's because everybody wants to be there, and that means prices go crazy. And so I definitely think there are some secondary markets that are, not quite as maybe not quite as much growth, but they're still growing. And there's still good opportunities, and the prices often are a lot better in some of those states. So yeah, makes sense. So with Aviana, is can you maybe talk about your first victory with that firm?
Yeah, our first victory was actually a portfolio of properties. It was 275 units in Warner Robins, Georgia. Okay. So, some people may know it, some people might not. It's one of the largest military bases in the U.S. there. It is a secondary, tertiary market, but it's got a lot of good metrics that we like. And so we had some friends of ours, and they found the deal, and we helped them get it to closing. And that was kind of our first parade down the multifamily space. Nice. From there, we moved into Atlanta. Okay. That was a 328 unit portfolio of properties. Again, we helped with the acquisition. We're not leads on it. We're just co-sponsoring that one. A couple of different aspects we brought to the table. And then our most recent one is in Corpus Christi, Texas. Okay. And that's a market that we like. Okay,
great. How long ago did you buy the Corpus Christi one?
That was in December. So
awesome. Yeah.
About 3 months ago, we closed on that one.
Okay, good. Now, Warner Robins, if I'm not mistaken, I think is what, a little southeast of Atlanta, hour and a half out of the city, something like that?
Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours, I think, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So one of the things that has, if you don't mind me asking, one of the things that has, sometimes you hear when you're in this space is that the agencies, Fannie Freddie, they don't like military towns, and it seems counterintuitive to me. If they're all part of the government and we're all trying to help our troops, why would you, frown on that? Did you go through an agency loan, or was it a different, like a bridge loan or something?
Yeah, so Warner Robins is on bridge debt, but to kind of touch on that, it is one of the things that we look at. Yeah. We don't like markets that are primarily dominated by just one industry, and the military would be one of those. And so,
right, yeah, that's something that's a consideration for us as well. If you've got a city that's highly dominated by one particular industry, and that industry has a blip, or God forbid, a plant closure or something like that, then yeah, you could have a massive hit to the ability for people to pay rent, not to mention attract new residents and all that. And so gotcha. So with Aviana, is there perhaps a funny story you can share, something that's maybe happened to you recently, something that kind of, caused you to go, whoa, what is going on here?
Oh man. Yeah, there's so many stories. So probably one of the most significant stories is my business partner, Moses. You guys just interviewed him. We've known each other since 2009, 2010. He was friends with my wife. He hated me. I was just some guy coming in and hanging out with one of his friends. And I tell a story all the time of just how much he hated me. He was like, he's got a motorcycle, I hate him. But we moved to Anchorage, and then we came back to Texas. And one day I was driving home, and I'm like, you know what? I miss Moses. I'm going to give him a call. We started talking. None of us had a real estate background, when during the times we were hanging out. It wasn't something I was open about.
Yeah.
And so in, I think it was 2017, 2018, maybe, and get on the phone with him. We're just catching up. And he's like, yeah, I'm working for private investment company here in Las Vegas. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what are you doing? He's like, we're buying multifamily properties throughout Nevada. I'm like, no kidding. I had been in this like zone of getting as much knowledge as I can and building my own, kind of network for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a random phone call, and we connected, and we talked just about every day since then
Nice.
about doing this. So our families are involved, kids, wives. It's a really cool.
So he doesn't hate you anymore. So
I don't think so. I hope not.
Yeah. Good deal. Did he buy a motorcycle?
No, he definitely didn't.
No. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's funny how, circumstances put you in the right place at the right time. I tell the story about Bill and I, and again, Bill's away on assignment today. Otherwise he'd be on the show with us. But, Bill and I met our very first local RIA meeting, literally his first meeting and literally my first meeting. Wow. We did not know we would be future business partners for a little while, probably about, 4 or 5 months later or so, I picked up the phone and remembered something I heard in our early conversation. And I said, let's have lunch and get to know each other. So, anyway, yeah, definitely, interesting how you kind of get to where you are sometimes, and just sort of and often it seems like it's a random chance, but it's a great scenario. So nice. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So, so Rich, where are you today? Where do you see Aviana going? What does that look like for you down the road?
Yeah. So I love being boutique, if that's the word for it. We're under 100 million, we're right around 80 million in acquisitions over the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. But we're able to focus our time on actually being good operators and taking care of our investors. And, with the big boom the last 5 to 10 years of private equity, which I'm a huge proponent of, I think more people need to be involved in the private equity side. Taking care of the people that trust us to invest their money is something we don't take lightly. Whether that's keeping good updates, whether it's staying engaged, K1s, get those out on time. But property operations, just making sure that we're executing on a business plan and taking care of the employees that are working for us and our investors. That's where I see us. And you know what, if that's one acquisition a year and we just knock it out of the park, that's a huge win for us. If it's 10, great.
Yeah.
But I don't want to push quantity over quality. And I have done that in the past with some of our own portfolio. And so I want to focus on Aviana being recognized as a great operator and a great company to invest with.
Yeah. I like how you said that, quality over quantity. I mean, it definitely, it'd be awesome to suddenly have, 10,000 units, but at the same point in time, if you can't manage them effectively to, take care of your investors as well as take care of the residents, well, then you're not doing the right thing. I believe as well that, you got to take care of the ones who take care of you. And again, that certainly obviously means the investors, but it also extends to the residents. We very much believe that, our job is to provide a quality product to the resident. And, some people just, seen as a coin machine that just cranks out money, and that's true. But at the same point in time, if you're not providing a quality product, well, then you're going to have, residents that aren't happy. I mean, yes, they sign a contract and they have to honor that contract. But at the same point in time, your part of that equation is to provide a quality product. So, yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean the resident gets everything they want, but at the same point in time, a quality product, right? So
yeah,
anyway,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, good. So, Rich, is there anything that you can talk about that you do perhaps through Aviana or through maybe your family, something like that you do to give back to in some way try to help others?
Yeah, my wife and I are very involved in the education system. So our school, just down the road, a few years ago, we started with like the backpack filling for kids. Kids not eating is a big deal to us. it wasn't initially like on my radar. I didn't realize it. I was kind of oblivious to it back when I was younger, but over the years, it is unfathomable how many kids go on Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, and they don't eat because they're not like their family's not in that position to be able to provide food on a daily basis. And that,
Yeah.
That's a very small giving back, whether that's covering, the lunch charges that have accrued that families can't cover, or it's just donating to the school. My daughter's got and my son, both my kids, got a booster-thon right now. We make sure to donate to those types of things, as well as to our city. So my wife is actually running for city council right now because we have a background in real estate and we're very involved in our local communities. And we want to make sure that it continues to grow the way it should grow, not just for developers to make money, but to be included in the community, because they're going to be a part of it. And so whether it's a huge development or a mom and pop operation, like there is a place for both of those. And we just want to make sure that it's included the right way. That way our kids have a place to grow up, because we love our city.
Yeah. Nice. Well said. And again, that's awesome. I wish her all the best in her election. I hope that goes well.
Thanks.
And and again, and it is very unfortunate, as you pointed out, that I mean, we're the United States is the greatest country in the world, but at the same point in time, it's a crying shame that we have homelessness, that we have people who are hungry, who are people who are underfed, and again, I've heard those stories too, where the kids go on break and they don't get to have a good solid lunch or breakfast or whatever, and that really is a shame. And I feel for all those folks in those predicaments. So definitely worthy cause that you're involved with. So nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rich, is there something that you perhaps have implemented recently at Aviana that's helping you grow and helping you as a firm, get to your new goals?
Yeah, I would say putting our brand out there. The marketing of it's not something our background is in. It's fairly new to us, but obviously there's a lot of competition. There are people that are able to pay huge salaries for people to market their company. And so those are the ones you see all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are the best companies to invest with. Obviously, they can be for some investors, but it's just because you see a company, that's not the only one out there. And so marketing, building our list of people that trust us to take care of them and their knowledge. And we run a couple of educational platforms, whether it's about private equity or we're actually in the process of building basically a financial education system, just showing people. It started from some of the neighbor kids. They were, new and on their own and asking questions about credit cards and how do you get a loan? How do you qualify for a house? And those are things I want my kids to know. That's the reason I started reading books and trying to figure this out. And if I can create a couple of videos a week and get it pushed out there for free so people can check it out and learn how do you manage your credit cards, how can they benefit you? When's the right time to use them? And we do that, and it's awareness, for Aviana, and hopefully it's a good source of value for everybody.
Yeah, nice. And again, Kiyosaki talks about the lack of education, financial education in this country, and that is also a huge problem. And so anybody that is able to do a little something about that, just try to help educate somebody else that's definitely good. Nobody taught you you maybe learned at one point how to balance a checkbook, but at the same point in time, how do you manage all those other things that are part of it? And the simple fact of, trying to build wealth over time, if you don't learn how to do that, well, it's not going to just fall out of the sky and suddenly say, it suddenly falls into your lap how to do that. Right. So you got to learn. So yeah. Okay. Excellent. Rich, what advice would you share with somebody who's considering making a path change?
I would say do the research, whether that's books, podcasts, those are your typical recommendations from people. But for me, I'm an action taker. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be scared doing something new, just like anybody else, but take the step, go out there, put yourself out there. That's how we learn. It's human nature. And it is so important that take the chance of falling on your face, because it'll be worth it. Whether you actually fall on your face or you succeed, take that first step and just keep stepping, just keep going.
Right. Good. Well said. Yeah. Again, we learn more from mistakes than we do from just a book. I mean, I definitely believe in education. It's, certainly both Bill and myself, but at the same point in time, you got to do something with that knowledge. If you're not taking action, it doesn't become real. And when you do make a mistake, that is a opportunity and a challenge to figure out how you're going to overcome that and how are you going to recover from that. But at the same point in time, you learn more by doing than just by reading. So yeah. Nice.
Hey, I don't know if we got time. You got time for a quick story?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. So just last night, Moses, he hosts a very successful meetup out in Las Vegas. I mean, they've been doing it for almost a year now. They've got 100+ people that come out and speakers, and they've been pushing it on me. It's different market, but we've been trying to host one locally. Haven't really had any success. Last night I had 2 other people show up. They were friends that I had texted. We had 70 people registered to come out, and 2 of these guys showed up. And for me initially, it was like, that kind of sucks. But we had such great conversation. And it wasn't. It really got me thinking and being grateful for the people that I've surrounded myself with in the real estate investment business operators. And we sat there and probably had a 45-minute conversation on how do we make it better. It wasn't, you suck, quit, shut it down. It was like, well, okay, maybe this wasn't right. Maybe we need to do this. And so it doesn't matter if, like I said, some of these guys that you see have put out so much content, you see them all the time, that they fall on their face too. But it is a constant process of rinse, repeat, get better.
That's right.
You're just not going to see that. And for me, those are the important ones. That's, like you said, that's where you learn, and that's how we all get better as human beings.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we host 2 monthly meetings, and again, sometimes we have a crowd this size. Sometimes it's a lot bigger, but you never know, and you know how that goes. A lot of times people register and actually something came up, which is life. But again, still having the forum is very valuable for people to come together and get some idea exchange and refresh concepts and approaches and all that stuff. So well done, good. Well, I hope that keeps growing for you as well. So good.
Thanks. We'll keep working on it.
Yeah, good. So, Rich, what's the best way for people to reach out to find more about what you're up to at Aviana, et cetera? So
we use our website for a lot of stuff, all of our educational material, events that we're going to, what deals we're buying, where are we buying, what markets are we in. You can visit that site at avianacapgroup.com. So that's AVIANA Group. And my email's on there, my direct email. It's Rich at Aviana Cap Group. I'll respond to all the emails that I get. That's the best way you can.
Okay, excellent. Good. We'll include that in show notes. So I certainly want to thank you, Rich, for joining today on the Road Less Traveled show. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Rich.
Absolutely. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a great 5-star rating so we can bring you more great shows like our show today with Rich Neuharth. And thank you again, Rich. We also want to remind everybody about 2 important things Park Capital Partners has going on. First, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund open today to accredited investors. And next, we have the Park Capital Partners Foundation. That is a 501(c) nonprofit that Bill and I created. And the way that works real quickly is that, first of all, Bill and I believe so strongly that we want the donations that go to the foundation to do its best work, which is to help others. So Park Capital Partners funds the foundation. We also donate personally. We also donate corporately. And finally, when investors invest with Park Capital Partners in one of our projects, we make a donation to honor that investor and we give the investor the choice to pick from a pre-selected list of 15 different charities, including one to hopefully end or drive toward an end of homelessness, as well as Feeding America, which helps local food banks all around the country. So thank you again, folks, for tuning in. Again, we appreciate you joining us, Rich, today. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.